Say there's mosquitoes on the river. These fish, they're rising up like birds. It's been hot for 7 weeks now. To whom do I speak now? Did you hear what I just heard?
The battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where you ain't seen nothing till you're down on a muffin, then you're sure to be a change in your ways. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. Delighted you could join us and be a little part of your Sunday evening. Here is your Decline of Western Civilization news roundup for the first week of April 2024. Dateline, Washington, Monday, 1 April. In one of those stories that makes you say, okay, maybe there really is a God, and maybe he really does have a wicked sense of humor. The White House Easter egg roll was rained out on Sunday. Then on Monday, when they were right about to belatedly start the thing, the skies opened up once again, and they had to delay it for another couple of hours. All in all, it was a pretty forgettable transgender weekend of visibility for the Biden administration, or as some of us used to call it, Easter, with various federal agencies receiving large degrees of public backlash for blasting out messages celebrating trans visibility and not really bothering to say anything about a happy Easter. Doesn't it seem like not all that long ago that Christians routinely used to say Christ is risen on Easter Sunday? That would probably be considered a white supremacist hate crime today, especially in Scotland. More on them in a couple moments. And for their part, Joe Biden's handlers, they just can't figure out for the life of them why anybody would view their administration as being endemically hostile to Christianity, while they're throwing an Easter egg roll in which the kids of the military families who were invited to participate were expressly instructed that the eggs were to contain no overtly religious messaging. Because, damn it, this holiday is about magic, egg-laying, anthropomorphic rabbits, and it's about men in dresses, and you can leave your Jesus out of it. You damn Christians always trying to make everything about Jesus, even freaking Easter Sunday. What'll it come to next? I tell you, the nerve of some people. If it was me, I think I might have tested the limits of the no religious messaging policy by having my kid put a picture of Muhammad on his egg, and maybe Rashida Tlaib would put a fatwa out on my ass, which I think that would be a nice bonus. Dateline, Los Angeles, Tuesday, 2 April. Former First Lady, former Senator, and twice failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton who is also incidentally the answer to the trivia question, how intensely unpopular do you have to be to lose to an opponent with a 38% approval rating, even when you've got the administrative state, the national security state, and the fake news media all 100% in the tank for your side? She was doing one of her biannual tours of what we used to call the late night comedy shows last week, and you know how this drill goes. These fading geriatric politicians think they are entitled to a certain amount of TV face time, and though they never have anything insightful or interesting to say. And for Hillary Clinton in particular, I really believe that in her heart of hearts, she still thinks there is some inside straight she can draw that will magically put her posterior in the White House where she deems herself so very much entitled to be. So she keeps her face on your television, and she does her best to leave a little breadcrumb trail of, oh, me? Well, I don't know. I suppose I would have to consider it if I were asked to serve in some capacity. But honestly, the thought, it just never crossed my mind. I'm just here doing the Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel shows because I am such a huge fan of the idiom of late night comedy, don't you know? But for Mr. and Mrs. America out in filthy flyover country, when Hillary Clinton inevitably pops back up on their TV like that Christmas house guest who still hasn't left by the start of April, you know what they mostly think? They mostly think, wow, she actually manages to get more unlikable as the years go by. What an upset that is. If you're Hillary Clinton, your version of youth voter outreach is to go on the Steve Colbert show and tell young voters that they should shut the hell up and get over themselves and go and vote for the 900-year-old half-desiccated Democrat because you were supposed to shut up and vote Democrat and stop being so goddamn insolent and disrespectful of your elders. And you know what you damn well better not do? You better not respond to one of Hillary's screechy finger-wagging harangues by rolling your eyes and saying, okay, boomer, because she will arc inside your punk ass just as soon as look at you. Allegedly. Dateline Paris, Wednesday, 3 April. Another fun Summer Olympic update from the French capital this week. We talked on last week's roundup about how Paris is boldly leading the way into a more technologically enlightened future by no damn air conditioning in the athlete housing complex, but don't worry, there will be plenty of condoms and abortion pills. Why do you need both of those things? Unclear. But I ain't no fancy scientist, so don't ask me. And now, this week brings the news that just like every other Olympic host city, and also San Francisco when there's a brutal communist dictator who happens to be coming to town for a visit, Paris is going full Potemkin village in advance of this year's Olympiad. Because it's not easy. Being a big, huge city run by left-wing idiot navel-gazer morons, you'd like to be able to invite the world over for a visit with all of their reporters and TV cameras and other accoutrements. But there's a very particular effect that your preferred set of social policies tends to have on, well, every city where those policies have ever been enacted, really. And it's an effect that involves lots of homelessness, lots of drug use, lots of prostitution, lots of fetid, filthy migrant slums where nobody goes unless they want to be murdered. Basically, every bad thing that can happen to a city is exactly what you get with sensitive, progressive, liberal governance. And it's a tale as old as time, really. The term Potemkin village was coined around 300 years ago, after all, but in Paris, they are so committed to multiculturalism, they've actually got migrant families domiciled in the lobby of the Paris City Hall. Or at least they did. Not so much anymore. But I guess cities and towns all over France can expect busloads of edifying multiculturalism to be arriving from Paris in the coming days and weeks, and I'm sure they are all looking very much forward to it indeed. Dateline Brussels, Thursday, 4 April. NATO celebrated its 75th anniversary this week. And you'll all have to forgive me for not offering you a slice of cake. Now, if you're a normal person with a functioning prefrontal cortex, you might find yourself asking, wait, why is NATO having a 75th anniversary when the Cold War ended 33 goddamn years ago? And why is it still seeking to expand its territory when it was supposed to be a purely defensive alliance that was guarding against a threat that ceased to exist decades ago? And ladies and gentlemen, if your correspondent knew a good answer to either of those questions, he would not hesitate to clue you fine people in and let you know about it, but he doesn't, so he can't. And now, because the main thrust of U.S. foreign policy seems to be that we should blunder ourselves into a third world war by pretty much any means necessary, the idiot Tony Blinken, a man I cannot believe is the actual Secretary of State, he casually and unequivocally stated this week that it's a foregone conclusion that Ukraine is going to become a NATO member. And if Ukraine becomes a NATO member state, if there is even serious movement toward Ukraine becoming a NATO member state, there pretty much is going to be a nuclear war between the United States and Russia. That will be the net real-world achievement of the organization that Ike and Monty started back in the day in order to prevent Stalin from rolling the Red Army into Western Europe. Now, when you think of the man you want to be the president on the day that history's first nuclear war begins, do you think of an 82-year-old Joe Biden? Me either. Dateline Edinburgh, Friday, 5 April. How do you spell moral courage? J.K. Rowling, that's how. And how is it that there is only one prominent public figure in the entire Anglosphere who is willing to put some skin in the game and go to the wall for basic free speech and civil rights? Well, I wish I had a good answer for that one, but I don't, except to surmise that moral cowardice is one hell of a drug. Scotland, in case you haven't heard this wonderful bit of news, has now crossed the biggest Rubicon that you can cross in terms of waging a systemic whole-of-government assault on the basic rights to which all free citizens are entitled in any society that purports to call itself free and democratic. They have criminalized, under pain of 3 years imprisonment, the stating of verifiably true facts about the world. A man cannot become a woman by putting on a wig and a dress and declaring himself a female. That sentence states a verifiably true fact about the world, and it's also a crime in Scotland to say that. That is where we are now. We have arrived at left-wing Sharia law, because that's what this is. Let's call things what they are. This is the mullahs, the ayatollahs, the high priests of the state religion, making a crime out of blasphemy. And if you think there's one damn bit of difference between jailing a guy for transphobia in Scotland and jailing a guy for being gay in Pakistan, then you're a fool, because there is not. And left-wing Sharia is exactly what the West can look forward to, because one J.K. Rowling is not anywhere near enough. If there were 100,000 of her, then maybe we would have a shot. But I'd be lying if I said I was hopeful on that front. This last half decade or so, I've seen too many people happily go along with too many things that they knew were evil and wrong. I thought we had deeper reserves of moral courage than that, and evidently I was very much mistaken. And I feel like I've ended the roundup on a bit of a dour and depressing note this week, but hey, it is what it is. And that is the end, and with that I am going to pass your care into the capable hands of my lovely and talented co-host, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting here with a bunch of weird sparkles on my face because I didn't get my freaking green screen set up right, but we're still going to roll with it because what's worse than a sparkly, hairy guy? Nothing. But I've got a buddy of mine, and he does a bit of news things for us. Untethered Live, it's Jake from Untethered Live. You got to respect a man when he admits he's wrong. Now, we covered this last week when he said it in the first place, and he's going to cover it again now just because he noticed it after the fact, just like we did. So, without further ado, or gilding the lily.
Good evening. I'm Jake Johnson, your alliteratively intrepid correspondent from Untethered Live on YouTube. Tonight's episode is brought to you closed captioned for the democratically impaired. We will speak in words they can understand. Join me tonight as we pressure the perverse, as we pierce the progressives, as we plunder the privileged, as we pronounce perfunctory, as we pound the poontang. Wait, what? Did you write this? Join me as we edge ourselves ever deeper into the abyss, as we saunter alongside sanity, as we kick the nads of novelty. Tonight, in the Hyperbowl. This guy, the cojones, the huevos on this guy, the ego on this fella. It's like Jakeception. It's like looking at a cross between Tom Brokaw and Max Headroom minus the speech impediment. Shoo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a retraction.
You witnessed the
AOC. Now, this clip needs a little setup. This is Ocasio-Cortez, Sandy, as we call her in the business. She is talking to a whistleblower who has come out with evidence that Biden has committed crimes before and while he was president, in defense of Donald Trump, who was getting lambasted by the government of all manner of things that they're throwing at him, one of which being the RICO statute. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this happens to the best of us who speak for a living. If you go for an hour or more speaking without pause, you inevitably jumble up ideas. Now, in this instance, that this is last week's Hyperbowl, I reached out for something and I grabbed something else. There is a conglomeration of ideas floating around in my brain and I got them jumbled up. I meant to say one thing and I said the other thing. This is a symptom of running and gunning. It is the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. I will pause while you Google Dunning-Kruger effect. And RICO is the exact same law that they used to bust that mobster back in. Now you can see it happen. You see me stumbled for just a minute. I had it in my mind, but I forgot the word and I had to pause and think for it. And I grabbed the wrong name. I said Al Capone. I meant to say Jimmy Hoffa. You see how the two get confused? Al Capone is a mobster from New York. Jimmy Hoffa is a mobster from Chicago. In the day, you know the one. And Al Capone. And so they used this twice. Once for Al Capone and once for Trump. Now, they have used RICO quite a few times. They have been trying to use RICO for many, many, many things, but they've only successfully done it a couple of times. That's what I meant to say. I should have said a couple instead of twice, because I don't know if it's exactly twice or not, but only once or twice did they use RICO successfully, meaning they achieved a conviction. Most of the time, the case gets thrown out or there's some kind of technical issue or something happens that it just doesn't go to fruition. Now, keep that in mind, because RICO is the law they used to make that happen. And they're what is RICO, you may ask? Trying to do it again. And this guy is saying that Biden is guilty of similar or the same crimes. Okay. RICO is the Racketeering, Influenced, and Corruption Organization Act of 1970, put in place by Richard Nixon and then soon thereafter codified into law. This is the law that they put together to catch people, and it's all Geraldo Rivera's fault, and I'll explain. You see, when I was a child, Geraldo Rivera found Jimmy Hoffa's vault, and they aired it live on TV, and nobody knew what was inside of it. And they said the legend was going around at the time that Jimmy Hoffa's body might be in the vault. So Geraldo was going to make headlines. He was going to make his name on finding Jimmy Hoffa, which was a big thing in those days. Now, the vault was empty, and that filthy mustache was wrong. Much like right now, this filthy mustache was incorrect. Same thing. It's all his fault, because that was what was stuck in my head when I formulated this idea, and it just came out wrong. I apologize. Now, this is Jimmy Hoffa. He disappeared 48 years ago out of nowhere. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but he vanished. Now, Jimmy Hoffa is from Missouri, or Michigan, rather. One of those two. He's from an M state, but he worked in Chicago and had affiliations with Chicagoans. And so this is a report, or an excerpt from a report that establishes what I was trying to say. As the I-Team first reported 10 years ago, federal law enforcement officials believe the Chicago outfit had a hand in Hoffa's disappearance. That is based mostly on interviews with mob insiders and an apparent connection to the late mob boss Frank Calabrese Sr., a hoodlum known in the organized crime circles as Frankie the Breeze. Frankie the Breeze worked closely with Jimmy Hoffa. Now, Jimmy Hoffa vanished into thin air. Nobody really knows what happened to him. But I suspect that it's just the FBI's way of really wanting to stop those Chicagoans committing such sinister Chi-Town shenanigans, and probably placed him in the Epstein Annex just off the Clinton wing of the DNC secret lair a mile beneath Alcatraz. But I digress. Racketeering is a big crime, but it was only known as RICO since the 70s. Before that, it was known as racketeering. Now, the labor movement and its members have long suffered from extortion, thievery, and fraud. Corrupt labor officials have used union power to extort money from businesses. Labor racketeering has been a major source of the Cosa Nostra crime family's power and wealth since the 30s. Nonetheless, and this is the part that's important, combating labor racketeering did not become a federal law enforcement priority until Jimmy Hoffa's inevitable disappearance. That's when they decided to put all of this in action. Now, what was Jimmy Hoffa actually arrested for or charged with? Jimmy Hoffa addresses 1958 hearings of the McClellan Committee, labor and racketeering. What were the criminal charges against Jimmy Hoffa? Well, in 1964, he was convicted on 1 count of conspiracy and 3 counts of mail fraud and wire fraud, and improper uses of the Teamsters Pension Fund, i.e. racketeering, i.e. RICO. You understand? So this is the idea that was floating
As you
around
can
in my
see,
head.
the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
And indeed, the more you fuck around.
Hold on, that was great.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
That's accurate. I could testify to that. You need to know exactly how much you want to know exactly how much you want to find out, right? You need to know exactly how much to fuck around. That's accurate.
There's an inversely proportional ratio between how much you fuck around and how much you find out.
That is absolutely true. So let me ask you the question. Where's Jimmy Hoffa?
Michigan.
You think so? I think he's at the bottom of Lake Mead. I don't think there would have been nearly as much frou-for-all about Lake Mead drying up as there was.
I don't think he ever left Michigan. They just did a really good job hiding his ass.
It wouldn't be hard. I mean, we got lots of stinky holes in Georgia. I'm sure
It's the freaking mafia. They know how to do this shit.
They're doing it.
Round, you absolutely inevitably do find out. Now, we have some things going on in this country. Now that issue has been solved, let's move forward, shall we? Then
You have to appreciate a guy who, when he realizes he's wrong, goes and makes an 8-minute and 55-second video explaining that not only was he wrong, but here's what he was trying to say at the time.
Yeah, that was a real motherfucker of a retraction, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, but credit where credit's due. You know what I'm saying?
this is not the Francis Scott Key Bridge. This is the Skyway Bridge in Florida, known as the 44s, which collapsed in the 80s. Now, I had the privilege of being in the vicinity when it collapsed. I saw it collapse, but I was not on the portion of it that did collapse. So I escaped an inevitable watery grave. But I have a solution. Instead of building bridges that allow big ships to pass under them and inevitably run into their pylons, we should therefore always Build ships that can carry bridges across the water to their destination. So that way, you don't have to worry about it. Captain's log. Sea date 405.4. On a routine mission just outside of the Baltimore system during a survey on an unknown entity, I decided to play an elaborate prank on the crew. You see, when I was a kid, my dad would turn out the lights while driving down the highway and scare the bejesus out of us kids. And I thought it would be funny. But something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. My engineer, Shoddy, tells me that the engines are offline and we're losing power fast. Nothing can be done. It was hard to make out. There was something about rainbows and parades and Easter in the back of a boat. I'm not really sure what he was getting on about. But I, Captain James Trans Quirk of the CPP Camellia, will take full responsibility of what comes next, for I alone made the decision to put us at risk. Sea Fleet, I'm sending out this message on all frequencies as a last resort. Communications are down. Ship is in danger. Send help if you can. Quark out. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. Guess that's not an unknown entity anymore.
Speak briefly about the terrible incident and accident that happened in Baltimore this morning. At about 1:30, a container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware.
Baltimore Bridge collapses. 6 Central Americans perish.
Times.
Joe, I
Right.
think you're lying to us, man. There are neither any train tracks on the Francis Scott Key Bridge or any train tracks anywhere near the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I think you're lying to me, buddy. I think you are feeding us a line of malarkey to make yourself feel more important. We need a Zeducation.
Holy
You know, it's not like this kind of thing happens every day.
holy
Well, shit.
did you feel it?
Yeah.
Looks like it does happen every day. Is it a conspiracy? I think not. I think we have a corps of Army engineers that can fix this problem in a day. Wonder why they haven't been called. You know, the major thing is opening ship lines because this Francis Scott Key Bridge thing has caused ships to not be able to pass in the harbor. Army Corps of Engineers, anyone? We need his education, as I said.
Need to fight in sea base.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker. This is a
Is that anything like the strategery of George Bush?
very sharp president.
He is sharp.
Hold on. Let's appreciate that for a moment because I had forgot about all the strategery.
No, when you're the president and the best adjective people can think to say about you is sharp, that is not a good thing.
No, it's not. Plus, whenever you say that he has a strategic thinker and is not a strategic thinker,
He's so sharp. He's so energetic. I can barely keep up with him. It's all the same things you say about your great uncle after he just had his 3rd stroke and everybody's trying delusionally to convince themselves he's really getting better.
sharp like a boob.
He is on top of things.
President Biden is strong. He exercises. He rides his bike.
Well, he
He rides his bike.
but he does fall on it.
Oh my god, that's so fucking. Hey, what's up, Toe for Life? Welcome in, bud. Oh, salty. Oh, my.
It had to be Jamal Bowman too.
Oh, dude, this. Oh man.
It had to be Fire Marshal Bill.
You know, there's a handful of YouTubers coming out now and TikTokers coming out now saying that all of the pre-election stuff they did last cycle was scripted by the White House. That they were literally handed the questions they were supposed to ask, and they were strongly suggest not to go off the topic. Like Secret Service
And
standard.
well, like how long have we been talking about the fact that it cannot just be an amazing coincidence that they all use the exact same words and phrases on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely that. And when you look at the and it really blows my mind how anybody could be this dense when you compare all of the headlines from all of the different news organizations, and it's literally parroting the same line over and over and over. You got Fox News over here saying exactly the same thing that freaking CNN is saying over there, and you're like, oh well, one's right wing, one's left wing. It's like, no, they're
And
just
they don't even pretend. They don't make any effort to obfuscate it, and then they turn right around and say it's not happening. So it's a really amazing flight of self-delusion when you get right down to it, I think.
Are we still live?
I
think
feel
we
like
are.
I'm still alive.
I feel still alive. I don't know what just happened. My okay, all right, we'll go with it. Screw it.
I didn't see anything happen on my end.
Well, I've got my phone up on your stream, and it just ended by itself. It was just like it just went dark while it was in the mid playing, and that's kind of weird because I have all of the controls out of my reach, and I just kind of panicked for a second there. My bad. Cool, we're still live. Good.
If only
Boom.
think of an adjective that would describe Joe Biden.
Sharp mentally.
He's pretty sharp. And he's got a very good grasp of the issues.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
Intensely probing. My God, man.
Yeah, apparently he likes the backstage activity with Mr. Biden.
Woo.
He likes the penetrating nature of his personality.
God, he said that with such conviction, like he really enjoys intense probing.
I suspect this man has an exceptional grasp on the shaft of politics.
Display for Joe Biden's sharpness.
I guess I should clear my mind here a little bit and not say what I'm really thinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a solution. But as long as we are doing DEI hiring, as long as we're putting outcome in front of opportunity, as long as we're putting equity ahead of equality, we are going to continue to have issues such as this. If you fuck around, you do find out.
You can fuck around and find out.
Now, you want action? You want to understand what DEI causes? You want to understand why people like me are up in arms about it?
Is this your seat?
Yes.
You can fuck around and find out.
Now, all of this can be solved if you go vote in November. But if you need to understand what's being presented in the brains of the people that are in charge, enter Wolf Blitzer.
Breaking news just coming into CNN right now. Attorneys for former President Donald Trump say they're unable to get a bond to pay the $464 million fraud judgment, calling it, and I'm quoting now, a practical impossibility.
Yes, it's a practical impossibility. Not only can Donald Trump not come up with $464 million for a bond, but neither can anyone else on planet Earth, because that is a ridiculous amount of money. Nobody has that kind of money. People that are billionaires have their money tied up in stocks and in investments and in real estate and in other liquidities. They do not have money, equities, not money. No money. They have a little money. So this is why the judge has inevitably gone back in and reduced that number to 1.5 million, which is a lot less than 464 million. 1.5 million. That's something Donald Trump could pull out of his back pocket if he had any money.
Meanwhile, the Biden campaign is a new nickname for former President Donald Trump.
Do tell, Brzezinski. Tell us with the excitement that only you can deliver.
Junior
Broke
bleeding facelift.
The campaign put out a release yesterday.
Now, see, you're not good at nicknames. You shouldn't try that. Donald Trump is good at nicknames. Lion Ted, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary. Broke Don? Really?
Little Marco.
Hitting Trump for his poor fundraising numbers and lack of campaign events. It's titled, Not a Winning Campaign. Broke Don hides in basement.
Number one, Donald Trump is a master at fundraising. You know, when they arrested Donald Trump and they put him in jail, when they took him in for booking and they took his mugshot, before the ink dried on that mugshot, there were T-shirts for sale all over the world of that picture. I don't even know how they got it out of their damn police station, but that's Donald Trump in action.
On that point, I would like to go find the person responsible for taking that specific mugshot and check the time at which he started his T-shirt sales.
Oh, Lady Curmudgeon made me a Trump mugshot T-shirt within 24 hours, and I wore it in the video for the original version of Get Off My Lawn Blues.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant.
We'll see more of his brokenness later. And also, during the last presidential campaign, there were exactly 2 presidents that ran for president successfully, one of which was actually guilty of hiding in his basement, and the other was Donald Trump.
President Biden joked about the matter, saying, quote, just the other day, a defeated-looking man came up to me and said, Mr. President, I have crushing debt and I'm completely wiped out. I had to say, I'm sorry, Donald, I can't help you.
Who you reckon wrote that?
The only completely defeated looking old man is on screen.
Not somebody who works in the White House. I would venture to guess somebody who works for one of the late night comedy shows.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe a Colbert or that other crunk.
Yeah. One of those staff writers from those shows, I would bet.
That sounds like a Kimmel take. Maybe
just something totally not funny that the audience laughs at because there's a big sign that says please laugh.
You can fuck around and find out.
You understand, Joe? If you fuck around, you find out. And guess what happened last week? Is Donald Trump broke?
Which brings us to Donald Trump, former U.S. president, running for office again and facing a slew of legal challenges. In an interesting turn of events,
Facing a slew of legal challenges.
He's now among the 500 richest people in the world.
He is now among the 500 most rich people on planet Earth in a week because of some very clever investment opportunities, one of which
his net worth soared by over $4 billion.
Is a Trump shoe.
Ew.
Look at that Trump shoe.
How tacky.
I'm pretty sure it's Louis Vuitton that has a copyright on the red gold. But hey,
at first they came for Alex Jones.
Red, white.
Yeah, that is exactly what I would expect a Trump sneaker to look like too.
First they came for Alex Jones, and I didn't speak out because I don't like Alex Jones.
Donald Trump at the shoe con, the sneaker con, presenting his shoe that was probably made in China, but he is making a mint on.
We got to limit that stuff. And it doesn't matter how many times I'm muted, it just keeps going on.
Trump went public with DJT, which is his stocks portfolio or whatever you call it, and in an instant became the richest man in the world, or one of the richest men in the world, just by trading on his very name. Broke Don? I think not.
Monday, 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 always Sunday, in the rich man's world.
You see, our president is a master.
Monday, Monday, Monday.
Our president is genius.
Monday.
Our president will soon be president again.
Monday.
Our president has a chin like a Adonis Greek god. I'm pretty sure that sentence meant nothing, but go for it.
No, we're not going for it.
Is the Hyperbowl. I'd like to thank you all for joining me tonight. I would like to invite you to come back every week where I will do a brand new Hyperbowl just for you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the ever democratically positive way, I shall bid you adieu. Until next time, join me in the Hyperbowl.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a long list of various types of newsy type organization things that we're going to go over today. I've got a few.
That was a good Hyperbowl this week.
Yeah, no, I dig it. Did you notice his lapel pin? He got him a lapel pin because all newscasters need a lapel pin. I'm not even sure why I'm here. I have no business being on this show.
Well, who the hell is going to introduce Black George Washington if you're not here?
Exactly. Okay, bro. Have you got something for me to throw up during this? Have you come up with
No, I figured we'd just use the same thing we used last week.
That'll work.
Should have thought about that beforehand.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't know if y'all were with us last week when we started our Black George Washington series. We began with George Washington inaugural exit speech. Words. With his exit speech, and have graduated at this point to, are you going to do the second half of the exit speech, or are you going into a different?
No, I am going to do the Black George Washington Pearl Harbor Day of Infamy speech.
All right, bud. Have you got the
I'm working on the picture. Almost got it.
This is all a work in progress. We're still trying to put stuff together. And after all, we do have an hour and a half to fill up in this whole thing. And if anybody out there thinks they can do a good weather girl, I'm certainly up for some green screen shenanigans. I was really hoping to get a hijabi gamer to do it, because she was talking about putting on a green screen hijab. Putting on a green hijab in front of a green screen and doing the thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no. Oh, God.
I just dropped a link in the private chat. Tell me if that works.
Maybe. No. Not gonna be able to do much with that, bro. Let me no, if I open it. Oh, wait, we don't need any sound from it, right? Okay.
No,
all right.
Let's
do this. Drag it over here. Make it big. Pause it. Find the right spot. Work in progress over here, people. Where are we at? Where's the Black George Washington?
And I think we should all be thankful that we have had Black George Washington around for all these years to give the even better Black George Washington version of every significant address that an American president ever gave. And we're gonna work our way through all of them. God damn it,
bro! There's not a single full frame of that in that video.
I thought that was just a photo I sent.
No, it's the lowdown as AI absurdly woke. It's the lowdown. It's a link to a site.
Yeah, because all we need is the stinking still image.
Yup. And I didn't save it. I meant to save it and I didn't do it because I'm a loser and I'm the reason this program fails every week. But
I'm a loser, baby. So why don't you kill me?
Don't get me started. Because I can do that entire song from scratch.
I might actually have the JPEG of it in my picture.
All right. Well, while you're doing this, let's segue into The good old days. So, no, why did that happen? I hate it when things like that. The good old. Right? When they do all the things. Damn it.
What happens when you get a group of people who
Okay, so this is all my fault. I'm a total reprobate when it comes to this stuff. I might have used that word wrong. Did you know that the DC cops have been selling guns to criminals in an attempt to track the guns that are used in crimes, only to discover that they've been selling guns to criminals?
They really blew the lid off that one.
Right? What's going to happen when they discover that the cops are the ones buying the guns being used by the criminals? I just don't understand it. But to explain it better is Liberty Doll. And she's muted because it finally
turn
worked.
that into a reality, and then the police are found selling guns to criminals. It turns out that what you get is the DC Metro Police Department. I can't wait to see how this one turns out.
Right? And if you're not
Hello, everyone,
subscribed to this
and
chick, I
welcome
don't know
back
where
to the
you've been at.
channel. Anti-gun groups love to blame crime on guns.
Exactly. It's just like Operation Fast and Furious, except in Metro DC. You know, the place where guns are completely verboten. Like, even a lot of cops aren't allowed to carry a gun out on the beat, but
right
here we are. Absolutely blue. Absolutely.
Stores saying that without gun shops, criminals wouldn't have access to guns. Except they would because the ATF still exists, but that's another story. If crime guns are traced back to an FFL, no matter how far removed or how many years have gone by, they say it's proof that, at best, the shop didn't do its due diligence, and at worst, that the FFL is willfully arming criminals and supporting crime. Now, a funny thing happened in Washington, D.C., and the police found themselves in a situation in which they were the only people legally able to sell guns. So it provided an interesting little thought experiment. You see, for the 7 months between April 3rd, 2020 and January 4th, 2021, when everyone was locked in their houses, the DC police operated as the only legal gun dealer in the area. And now, it turns out, the ATF is investigating the DC police after recovering a concerning amount of crime guns that they say are traced back to the department. But before I get into all the details on that, I'd like to tell you all about the Attorneys on Retainer program. You don't have to follow the daily news to know how important it is to have a lawyer on your side when it comes to anything related to firearms. We also know from a couple high-profile cases that even with self-defense insurance, a lawyer isn't guaranteed if you find yourself in a self-defense situation, which is really unfortunate. But Attorneys on Retainer is different in that it is literally a program to retain legal counsel rather than an insurance program that has all kinds of exclusions and hoops you need to jump to in the fine print. Attorneys on Retainer has you covered for misdemeanors, felonies, appeals, and even bail bonds. It doesn't even matter if you were in a gun-free zone or if it happened in a state that doesn't exactly like to grant constitutional rights. Unlike insurance companies, their only requirements are that the incident happened after purchasing coverage and that you reasonably acted in good faith. So to switch over from your existing self-defense coverage, head on over to my link in the description and use code LibertyDoll to get $50 off your sign-up. According to NBC4 Washington, so many of the guns sold by the DC police were recovered at crime scenes in such a brief period that the ATF placed DC police into a program designed to give extra scrutiny to dealers with higher levels of so-called crime guns. Now, the threshold to be earmarked by the ATF is 25 guns traced to you in a single year, which in the grand scheme of things might not be that many when a gun shop could do thousands of transactions a year. But when you consider the DC police were only in the business of being the only gun dealer in DC for 7 months, and that they're literally the police, it makes things a little hairier. The irony is that this information...
So here's my curiosity in the middle of all this. How did they end up in a position where not only were they the only organization capable of transferring firearms from one owner to another, but that they were doing this apparently with the knowledge that they weren't doing it correctly, because it was going obviously straight to criminals.
Yeah, funny how that always winds up happening. I'm sure it's just an amazing coincidence.
And you know Brandon Herrera? You familiar with him?
The name sounds familiar.
YouTube turned congressman or something like that. Anyway, he's a gun tuber and he's working on the AK-50 right now. And he's also running for Congress. And he seems to be doing a pretty good job of it in Texas. So, you know, big ups to him. I hope he wins. I really do. Because that empty basket they have as a congressman currently just doesn't do the job. That being said, how is it that every time the federal government or some arm of the federal government touches guns, a bunch of criminals end up with guns, and then they try to use that as an example of how criminals get guns illegally when the federal government usually the ones selling them to them?
Yeah.
I even tried to find the
we need more federal legislation to fix this thing that arose from us abusing the previous federal legislation.
Yeah, basically. I mean, morons.
Information was originally discovered by the Brady campaign, who released hundreds of ATF letters over the last few weeks, all of them sent to gun shops who are now in the ATF's no-no list. In that pile, they found one addressed to the DC Metro Police in May of 2022. Now, it's worth noting that while only 2% of FFLs across the country are in the ATF Special Demand 2 program, 14% of the dealers around the larger DC area, including Virginia and Maryland suburbs, are in the program. So that tells us that there's more crime there and more criminals, and that it's probably not a case of gun shops purposefully arming criminals, unlike what Brady seems to think. Though it is interesting that the guns sold by the DC police in particular had a short time to crime. While on average, according to the ATF, it takes 10 years for a legally bought gun to be found at a crime scene, the guns from the DC police had a time to crime of 20 months or less. The DC police have since stopped operating as an FFL, but the circumstances are still curious. It could be that there are just so many criminals that it's easy for 25 guns to show up at crime scenes, especially during the crime spikes of 2020 and 2021, and that don't seem to have stopped. But I also can't imagine that criminals were lining up to go get guns from the cops. So how they got there, nobody knows. Also, there are now 2 FFLs operating in the DC area. They are both also in the program, one of which...
I thought you emailed me that JPEG last week, and I cannot find it nowhere.
Yeah, I can't. I've tried a bunch of different things, and I can't do... Why? I mean, we could just play the video of last week's Black George Washington speech, which I just dropped the link into the private chat if you want to put that up.
Say something really interesting for the next 30 seconds.
I am going to say something that is really incredibly interesting for the next 30 seconds. And the reason it's going to be interesting is because I am the one saying it. The reason things are interesting when I say them is... Oh, did I do the 30 seconds already?
You did good. I'm almost there.
Yeah, Black George Washington is always all ready to go once we figure out something to put up on the screen.
I got George Washington Carver over here apparently.
That same thing kept happening to me too.
Oh my God, that is so annoying. I mean, it's not like they didn't do this; they just covering it the frick up. Not one. Oh, Google, you're slipping so hard. Wait, we could do we have an Obama George Washington picture.
I'll take anything at this point.
All right, bro. I'm sorry, it's hilarious.
No, you're fine.
Oh, hold up. Oh, that's so brilliant. Let's see. Share, present video file. Nope, that's wrong. And
reminder that this is Black George Washington's
computer
Pearl Harbor Day of Infamy, 8 December 1941 speech.
Downloads and come on, stop just sitting there looking funny at me. What? Oh, it's just not going to let me. It's just flat saying no.
What a bastard.
Okay, let's try it this way then. Oh, wow, that's really bad. Hold up. I got you. I got you, bud.
You got me?
Here. Get it up here. And yes, we're going to skim out the top on it right there. And here we... Wait, that's not right. Why is that not right? Oh, I know why that's not right. Hold up. I got you. Ladies and gentlemen, the technical issues are part of the show. Because
we place our full and complete faith in Mr. Sasquatch to iron them out, as he always does, with such verve and such aplomb. There we go. I'll work with that. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate and of the House of Representatives. Yesterday, December the 7th, 1941, fucking sucked, y'all. And the reason why it sucked is on account of because the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by some Japan motherfuckers, some Navy motherfuckers, and some Air Force motherfuckers. And ain't that about a son of a bitch? United States, we was at peace with them Japan motherfuckers, and on account of because they done wanted to, we was still having talks with they government and they emperor, because we all about that, y'all. We be looking forward to maintaining some peace in the goddamn Pacific. And y'all check this shit out right here. 1 hour after them Japan Air Force motherfuckers had commenced bombing our asses up in Oahu, the motherfucking Japanese ambassador to the United States and his bitch-ass colleague delivered to our Secretary of State, Black Cordell Hull, a big old fancy-ass formal reply to a message that we done sent to they ass a few days ago. And while this reply done stated that it seemed useless to them Japan motherfuckers to continue the damn diplomatic negotiations that we was already doing, it didn't contain no threat, or no hint of no war, or no armed attack, or any old shit like that. Now it's gonna be recorded, so y'all peoples listen up real good here. That the distance from Hawaii to Japan makes it pretty goddamn obvious that this attack done been deliberately planned a whole lot of days ago. Hell, could be weeks ago, who the fuck knows? Now, during the intervening time, them Japan motherfuckers been deliberately seeking to deceive these here United States by some false statements and some bullshit expressions of hope for a continued peace. This here attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands, well, it done caused some bad fucking damage to our naval forces and our military forces. Because Black George Washington ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm gonna give it to you straight. And so I regret to tell you that very many American lives done been lost. And in addition to all that, American ships done been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. Yesterday, them Japan motherfuckers also launched an attack against Malaya. Last night, them Japan motherfuckers done attacked Hong Kong. Last night, them Japan motherfuckers done attacked Guam. Last night, them Japan motherfuckers, they even attacked the little old Philippine Islands. Who did the Filipinos hurt? I don't fucking know. Last night, them Japan motherfuckers, they even attacked little old Wake Island. And this morning, last but not least, them Japan motherfuckers done attacked Midway Island. These Japan motherfuckers have their foe. And I think y'all will agree with Black George Washington on this point. They have undertaken a goddamn surprise offensive extending all the way to hell throughout the Pacific area. The facts of yesterday and today, they speak for themselves. And the peoples of the United States, they done already formed their opinions, and they damn well understand the implications to the very life and the safety of our nation. Now, as the motherfucking commander-in-chief of the Army and the Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense. But always is our whole nation, and you can bet your sweet ass on this, baby girl, we gonna remember what these Japan motherfuckers done did to us. No matter how damn long it may take us to overcome this premeditated bitch-ass invasion of the American people. and they righteous motherfucking might will win through to absolute goddamn victory. Now, I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I put it to y'all right now that not only is we going to defend ourselves like a motherfucker, but we gonna make goddamn certain that this treacherous Japanese shit these Japan motherfuckers done did ain't never gonna endanger our ass again. Hostilities exist, y'all. And there ain't no blinking at the fact that our peoples, our hoods, and our cribs, and our interests, they be in some grave-ass danger. With confidence in our armed forces, even the ginger cracker motherfuckers, and with the unbounded determination of our people, well, y'all don't need Black George Washington to tell you what's gonna happen. We gonna kick their ass. We gonna kick their ass real bad. Some shit's gonna get ugly, y'all. Now I, President Black George Washington, ask that Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by them Japan motherfuckers on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a goddamn state of war has existed between the United States and them Japan motherfuckers. And may God have mercy on their ass, cause somebody got to, and it damn sure ain't gonna be us. And that's it, motherfuckers. That's all Black George Washington got to say to you today. I'll be seeing you peoples next time. Same Black George Washington time, same Black George Washington channel. America's baby daddy loves you. Peace out, bitches.
Well, Alex Jones has a single question for you. What is Black George Washington going to do to prevent all the frogs from being turned to gay? Sorry, dude. I couldn't resist it.
Black George Washington agrees with Mr. Alex Jones that they turning the fucking frogs gay.
I don't know why the salamanders haven't followed along.
I don't know what they putting in that motherfucking water, but they turning them gay.
I'm going to give you a straight fluoride stare. It's a little disturbing, isn't it? Oh, I freaking love it, dude. We're going to have to do way more of that trash.
Oh, I agree. Stuff. And my voice can just about take it.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. Whenever I start talking like Alex Jones, it just basically clears out my throat for a little while. But the main thing I got to do is get you to buy some of those power bars, get me another cup of coffee, and maybe rib up my Johnson a little bit.
Yeah, when you launch into Alex Jones, I immediately launch into Black George Washington. It'll be our Abbott and Costello bit.
You write the script and I'll read it, babe. Ooh, we'll do that. The show has become disturbing. You're not wrong, dude. There's a reason for that. It's because we're
that was a little bit longer than I expected.
That's not right. Why is it doing that? That is so weird. I'm just gonna dump that and redo it. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to do that. That's weird.
I do like that. I do like the Obama Washington picture. That's not bad.
Yeah, if we catch a copyright, it's gonna be from that picture. I just about guarantee it.
Oh, here I like that kind of comment. MF and BGW forever.
Forever. Yep.
Black George for 47. Oh, look at all this love.
Oh yeah, you know it, bro.
Can you feel the love tonight? This love is overwhelming.
It's the sun shining on me like a lap dance.
Especially the guy who says this show is disturbing.
Yeah, well, he's got a point. It's supposed to be, I think. All right, let's finish.
Those are the ones that touch my heart the most.
Yeah, kind of like a myocardial infarction.
Said that he had some concerns about how the cops were doing their business. He also said the cops asked him to open his business early because they didn't want to have to keep managing firearms. According to him, they always had a...
She's talking about the only licensed firearm FFL in DC. The cops showed up and was like, "Hey, we're fucking up over here. Can you do something?"
Well, they're still letting them have one, are they?
Well, without that one, they would have had no one to go to do this. So, they were just covering their own bum. That's all that was. That's all that comes from a mile away.
Long list of thousands of guns waiting to be processed. He also said that the department was disorganized and that the way they were trying to manage the gun sales was, quote, archaic. He said that he had voiced his concerns to the police, but that they didn't respond or take any of his suggestions. We don't know what those suggestions were, but that's also interesting. Now, according to NBC, the DC police sold over 8,000 handguns in that 7 months. So again, in the grand scheme of things, 25 isn't a ton. It could have been more than 25 as the police aren't releasing that information, but we know that 25 is the threshold, which is 0.3% of 8,000. They also won't tell anyone if they ever refused a sale, how many people were assigned to the gun dealing unit, or why they started dealing 2 weeks before the mayor actually told them to. So there are a lot of questions.
See, this is the issue I have with all of this. Like, they have laws and things in position to prevent this stuff from happening from private citizens, but the DC police go out, break all of those laws, commit multiple felonies, and then turn around and look at a law-abiding citizen and go, "Hey, man, we're screwing up over here. Can you come help us out?"
It's almost like the only people who are subject to the full force of our laws are the law-abiding citizen.
Exactly. It's almost as if criminals don't obey the law.
Almost like all of our laws have been turned inward for the purpose of just persecuting people who are normal people, not bothering anybody.
Exactly. It's kind of weird whenever the entire federal arm of the federal government is arrayed specifically against its citizens while allowing a full-on invasion to take place not only at the southern border, but largely at every major port in the U.S.
And people actually act like I owe them an explanation when I say I want these federal agencies abolished because they are beyond reform and they can't be reformed and they just need to be torn out root and stem.
Exactly.
And
we need to get
and
rid
the
of
building burned down and patriotic Americans can go piss on the ashes for all I care.
Right? So we need to get rid of the Department of Education and remand that back to the states because it's been utterly trashed by the federal government.
There was never a good reason for that damn thing to exist in the first place.
Unless you're a federal employee. That was the only reason they did it, was to be able to dictate to the states what they could and could not teach. And in doing so, they created the absolute perfect indoctrination study. It's not a coincidence that every single school in America now looks just like every single prison in America.
Yep. Bars and everything.
And 0 answers. Still, 25 guns over a 7-month period of being in business versus 25 guns over years of being in business is, again, interesting. Now, if you're curious as to how the police even ended up in this position, the DC Council passed a law in 2012 that would allow the city to seek a license to sell guns if no other private businesses would. This was after being dragged to court a lot. Fast forward to COVID, when the city's one licensed dealer closed up shop. The police department then found itself forced to open up shop as a dealer as required by law. The law also allowed them to collect $125 per transfer, which brought in over $1 million. A spokesperson said that that money was put into the city's general fund. But then again, the police also say that they never sold guns, arguing semantics, and that they only acted as an FFL, which I'm assuming they mean they only initiated transfers. Still, it's deliciously ironic to see the police department under the ATF's magnifying glass after so many gun dealers have found themselves in the same position. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if someone wrote the wrong date or missed a digit?
They shot a man for writing the wrong address on a piece of paper. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. If I remember properly, what took place is he's a legal FFL and he was operating with 2 different people, one of which was going back home to another state. And in the documents, they had the wrong gun written in the slot for what he was purchasing. And he got it switched on 2 guys named John, right? Calls him up a couple of days later. Is like, "Hey, we need the paperwork back up here so we can correct all of this." The ATF kicks down his door a couple of days after that, and they did a dawn no-knock warrant. They just kicked in the door
because of course they did.
Because of course they did. They just kicked in the door of a man who owns at least a couple of 100 guns, thinking that this was going to go down like a big, huge
And they don't do that shit because there's any legitimate tactical reason why they need to. They do that shit because they like doing it.
Well, they call it training purposes. Anytime something like that takes place and there was no reason to do it, they say, well, it keeps them sharp. It helps them learn to do the things they need to do.
That's a nice, convenient excuse you can keep in your back pocket.
Right? If that man had been an illegal gun owner, that would have gone a totally different direction.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. All right. So how often do you see the other side say the quiet part out loud?
You got some liberal hive mind coming at me?
Oh yeah, it's fixing to happen right in your face head, dude. It's kind of like
right
liberal.
Right on.
It's going to be all over your head. What's up,
you don't need to ask me twice.
Well, neither of them were illegal, actually, Lexi. That's the downside.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, sometimes life is like a parody. It feels almost as if we're living through some sort of satirical comedy. This can't actually be real, right? They aren't really serious. That tends to be the question. Well, here's another one of those moments where it feels so incredibly surreal, so ridiculous that you probably might think to yourself, this has to be some sort of joke, some sort of skit. But of course, over the years, we've wisened up. I guess we've been desensitized to it all, desensitized towards all this leftist insanity, of course. We live in a world where the surreal has become just everyday, mundane reality. There's a viral clip currently bouncing around Twitter showing a top Democrat spokesperson in Denver during a secretly recorded moment, let's just say getting caught saying the quiet part out loud. Here's what's really going on. Here's what they're really doing. As per usual with these Democrats on the issue of illegal immigration, the NIMBY rule, not in my backyard, once again applies. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so take a look at this from End Wokeness, but just to try to do our best here to give everybody credit, I think the original clip is from Next with Kyle Clark. At least that's the watermark at the bottom of the video. But End Wokeness writes, a top official in Denver was just caught on tape begging illegals to leave the city. Denver newcomer liaison, any city, we can take you to the Canadian border, wherever. He promises them that there's better stuff awaiting them in Chicago and New York. However, Denver is a self-designated sanctuary city. Take a look at this.
Opportunities are over. That's Andres Carrera, political director for Denver Mayor Mike Johnston.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más. Entonces sugiero que vaya por allá, donde hasta también con una verde de más largo plazo, también hay más oportunidades de trabajo por allá.
Carrera is Denver's.
Let's do this. Let's do this a little bit better than he did it on this point. New York gives you more. Chicago gives you more. So I suggest you go there where there is a long-term shelter. Right?
Just get the fuck out of my city so I stop having to pay a political price for this shit.
There are also more job opportunities there. What was it that New York was saying the other day? They can't take anymore.
Whatever happened to no hate, no fear? Immigrants are welcome here.
Yeet, yeet.
Patients liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before them.
Hemos recibido demasiados migrantes y por eso se acabaron los recursos. Mira, no te vamos a bloquear. Si quieres permanecer aquí, no estoy aquí para bloquearte, estoy aquí para avisarte que tu camino no ha terminado. Si permanecen aquí,
wow,
vas a sufrir hasta más. Y eso no
I
lo
am
quiero
here to
ver.
let you know that your path is not over.
All right, let's do that right. I'm sorry, I was typing in chat, trying to suggest to everyone go over and click the link at the top of my chat. Go and hit the like button over on Captain Curmudgeon's channel because everybody loves a little love, right?
But you know what happens? You know what happens next year, starting January 20th, right? The biggest rodeo event in world history, the Great American Roundup of 2025, baby.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
I could not be more excited.
Magnificent. All right. So we have received too many migrants, and that is why we ran out of resources. No, look, we are not going to block you if you want to stay here. I'm not here to block you. I am here to let you know that your path is not over. If you
That's
stay
the part
here,
that struck me.
yeah, right. If you stay here, you are going to suffer even more, and I don't want to see this.
In other words, I don't want to see you. Get the fuck out of here. You're a problem.
Yeah, you're an issue here, but if you'll go to one of these red states, to one of the big cities in the red states, they'll take care of you, and it'll turn them a little bit.
It's all fun and games when you're just chanting fun woke slogans right up until the moment your kid can't go to school because there's fucking migrants sleeping in the gym.
Right?
Parents listen quietly as children play on the floor. As Denver tells these families that have sometimes walked from one continent to another that they just have to keep moving. But they don't have to walk. Denver will buy them a bus ticket.
Tu camino no ha terminado. Que viajas un tantito más. No tienes que caminar por ningún parte. Podemos comprarte boleto gratuito.
Your path has not ended. Your path is not ended. That you travel a little more. You don't have to walk anywhere. We will.
Well, yeah, and you'll notice how he keeps leaning into that same kind of terminology and language. Like your destination's out there, but it ain't fucking here. So you need to get your ass moving.
Right? You can go to any city. We can take you up to the Canadian border, wherever.
Any place that is not here.
Right? Absolute madness, man. Madness. I don't.
Democrat hypocrisy. It's the not in my backyard doctrine. They love to seem woke and compassionate. I mean, for Pete's sakes. A couple months ago, Democrat leaders in Denver were announcing that they were planning to cut public services to redirect those funds into taking care of all the illegal immigrants, who I guess are the top Democrat taxpayer priority there now.
I'm here to talk a little bit about the devastating impact of the failure of Republican leadership in Congress this week to pass comprehensive immigration change, and the impact that
Republicans
will have on
did it,
budgets and on services that we can provide for newcomers.
Well, isn't that standard operating procedure? Blame the opposition before they get a chance.
They continue saying it, and they say it with perfectly straight faces and such conviction that you have to admire them for it, I guess, on some level.
It's crap. I wonder what all I just did. I'm trying to type in chat, and it's not giving me the right chance to do it. I just mute. Oh, wow. I just did a bunch of stuff. Hold on. Oh, cool.
First steps, they unfortunately will not be the last and may not be the hardest. This is a plan for shared sacrifice. And so in terms of our first step on city cuts, we are announcing today we will make some changes both to our services at DMV and to our services on Parks and Rec.
So let me get this straight. We're going to give you IDs. We're going to give you a card. We're going to give you a ticket, but they are here illegally. Now, if
we promise none of them are going to vote.
Actually, I think they're prepping for a future election, to be honest. Hold on. Let me get a grip on this. So our congressional districts and seats are mitigated and managed by the census, which occurs every 10 years, right?
Correct.
The next census is going to count every man, woman, and child in America, and we're going to find that there are an awful lot of more of these people than we thought there were before. And that
hopefully a Republican Congress will prevent that from happening.
It's already too late, bro. Do you think the numbers they're pumping out are the accurate numbers? Dude, I want some of what you're smoking if you think so, because here's the thing. They minimize every aspect of this situation. They minimize every negative impact, everything. They are not homeless migrants. They are not homeless illegals. They are unhoused migrants.
In reality, it is an army of 10+ million military-aged males.
Right. And the federal government has this wonderful idea that they are going to initiate a draft here soon. I've got this weird feeling we're going to have us a draft, bro. And that draft is going to pick up as many of these guys as they can, because they think that's what's going to turn the tide in Europe. And I'm like, bruh, Come on, man. Brain power. Get a wrinkle in that thing, man. I want one wrinkle in every politician's brain. I think we should have a freaking brain scan and verify there is at least a single wrinkle available, because an idea can't slide completely off that way. Fucking wild, man.
Woke and how charitable, a kumbaya moment, no human being is illegal and borders a racist moment from the woke progressive Democrats. But then, of course, beneath the surface, as the fog dissipates, you see exactly what's really going on. Oh, we care so much about these illegals, and Donald Trump's a real bad racist. But all you illegal immigrants hanging out here, can you please go literally anywhere else?
When he said what's really going on, I had a flash in my brain of one of them little cymbal monkeys going, and that's what's going on in their brain.
Yep.
I mean, we'll drive you all the way to the Canadian border. We hear that Justin Trudeau guy is a swell chap. That's the message. We're a sanctuary city. We'll direct funds to taking care of you. We'll take you in. And then when you get there, they have a spokesperson going around saying, please, literally anywhere but here. From sanctuary city on the front end to literally anywhere but here. It's comical. It's the stuff that memes are made out of. It's something that you would expect in a skit, an SNL skit, if SNL did actual comedy on relevant topics and events. But thankfully enough, I mean, the Babylon Bee tends to engage in actual comedy.
That's actually disturbing. That's very disturbing to me. Exactly how much like an SNL or an Onion article this looks like. This is the real.
Well, yeah,
federal
it is for those of us who toil in the vineyard of comedy. It becomes increasingly difficult to parody things when the reality is so far beyond parody that parody becomes impossible.
Dude, it's like they're mainlining absurdity. These people are straight funneling irony. The old meme of the guy, the frog with the copium mask, dude. Oh my Lord, it is so on point right now. They're just never mind. I don't need to get too far down that road.
Especially political humor. And I guess this is where the point is proven. Left-wing insanity has reached the point of comedy. Here's a Babylon Bee headline from roughly a year ago. Sanctuary City bummed now that it has to do the actual sanctuary part. Leftists love to virtue signal. They just hate to actually participate or actually have to execute or sacrifice in order to achieve actual results. You know, they'll go on and on about protecting illegal immigrants, classifying them as asylum seekers. But when it comes to housing,
Newcomers,
they certainly don't want to be part of that process. No, that's for the billionaires to fund. That's for the rich people's taxes to take care of. Create an unsustainable crisis because it makes you feel good, but don't actually participate in realizing the utopic vision that exists in your left-wing fantasies. Well, that shouldn't be the way the world works.
Hold on. I heard you do a Bernie. I heard you do Bernie one time. Don't you got a Bernie voice? The billionaires.
Bernie's a difficult one for me.
Oh,
I probably could whip something into shape if you gave me some fair warning.
Okay, all right, yeah, we'll do that. We'll get together next week before the show, and we'll bounce some Bernie back.
I've never been gainfully employed one day in my entire life.
That's not
Young communists of America.
That's really good, actually.
You asked for it, therefore it's your responsibility, therefore you deal with it. The level of hypocrisy here is unreal, especially after the last couple of years.
That is totally my fault.
Evil for sending illegal migrants to New York and Chicago. He's toying with these people's lives. But what else are you supposed to do? I mean, New York City's the big, rich, woke city that declared itself a sanctuary city with all
Bernie
the
Sanders.
I mean, clearly, it's the most logical thing to do. Illegal migrants themselves want to go to New York, and
holy shit!
Now that's a challenge right there.
I was just thinking what a black Bernie Sanders would actually sound like. Can you do that many mixes of accent in the same impression?
That is a lot of clashing accents.
Yeah, I think the reason Black George Washington works is because we have no idea what George Washington actually sounded like.
Correct.
I mean, let's be honest, he probably had an English accent.
Supposedly, New Yorkers, or at least New York Democrat politicians, are happy to take on this burden. And so Greg Abbott continues to load these illegal migrants by the busload, shipping them straight to New York City. Supposedly, he's a horrible person for doing so. Meanwhile, Democrats in Denver are doing the exact same thing. I mean, there's the argument. You heard it. If anybody ever questions Florida Governor Ron DeSantis or Texas Governor Greg Abbott in the Lone Star program, simply respond with the quotas seen on screen.
Nueva York te da más, Chicago te da más. Entonces sugiero que vaya por allá, donde hasta también con un albergue de más largo plazo, también hay más oportunidades de trabajo por allá.
New York gives you more. Chicago gives you more. So I suggest you go there where there is longer term shelter.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the obverse also true? We aren't going to give you anything. You need to leave.
And I'm surprised they aren't leaning into the cold thing. It gets fucking cold here in the winter. You probably want to be someplace less cold.
Yeah, like Chicago.
There are also more job opportunities there. There it is. New York City is a haven for illegal migrants. They'll give you more, they'll house you, and they'll also work to give you work permits while fighting for your right to vote in local elections. There it is, case closed. You heard it from the Democrats themselves. It's a mix of the not in my backyard doctrine, heightened levels of hypocrisy, and also essentially saying the quiet part out loud. This is proof that Democrats are the problem. This is a Democrat-manufactured crisis. And just to make it even crazier, these people seriously tried to convince you that Donald Trump spiked the border bill and that the southern border crisis is all his fault. Give me a freaking break. Once again, the Democrat.
No, John DeNicola. Don't you believe your lying eyes?
Yeah. The
They
difference
still-
between no hate, no fear immigrants are welcome here and get the fuck out of my backyard is about 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, well, it's how long it takes for them to show up. If that's 60 days, then that's how long it takes.
Well, as soon as you're directly impacted as the taxpayer, as soon as you don't get to do something that you damn well pay for because Joe Biden's illegal aliens are being housed in that whatever public facility, then that's when it starts hitting home. That's when no hate, no fear immigrants are welcome here kind of goes by the wayside and gets replaced by something of a different character.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let him wrap it up, and then we'll move on to the next bit.
Democrats have been exposed. What an amazing secret recording. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly...
All right, you reckon they figured out who it was that did that particular recording?
Probably.
Study finds
Oh God.
surprising number of Americans think chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Thus,
Truth. That was paid for by the federal government, I'll have you know. They went around and asked exit level kids, we're talking between like 10th grade and seniors. And I could see how you might get some smart ass remarks out of that crowd. But at the same time, I feel like a robust enough study would be capable of removing the absurdities and looking at the
Oh yeah, you have to acknowledge the exceedingly depressing reality that a lot of them were probably serious.
Oh shit, no, this is a different one. This is wait, in April. But no, this is a different one. Apparently this was 1,000 adults over 18 were asked, and that was the result. So dear monkey fucking Joseph, what in the hell is wrong with people? I am so perturbed on that.
This is why I can't watch those man on the street interviews. It just makes me want to crawl in bed and never get up again.
Exactly. I don't know. It kind of depends on how it's done. If it's a well done interview, then it has a certain amount of a certain something. The right person asking the right questions can really push an interview like that to its limits and make it a good thing. But 99% of these things end up being some person wandering around poking at folks that they don't feel threatened by, and that will give you a curved result.
Well, the worst ones are the ones where the questions are the easiest. Like when you ask 50 people in a row a question like, "What century was the Civil War?" and over half of them get it wrong. Those are the ones that just make me want to give up.
Oh wow.
on the whole experiment of human society in general.
I can't give you a specific reason why I dislike that type of a it bothers me to no end. When, like, I went to my daughter and I asked her some basic history questions. Who was the first president of the United States? Who was president during the Civil War? Who was president during World War II? That kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like junior high level civics, basically.
This seems like a very basic kind of nothing. Not one. She knew George Washington. She didn't realize that he had served 2 terms. Yeah. She didn't realize that he established most of the traditions of the White House as far as like how long people serve and what capacity, what they can do as far as international politics and stuff, like how much actual power a president has.
Oh yeah, nobody learns basic civics anymore unless they are taught to them by their parents.
Exactly.
But all those kids can tell you all about white supremacy and climate change. I guarantee you.
And they can name 176 different genders and how you're
and they can
wrong.
name 176 different genders. You're exactly right.
And how you're wrong and don't know what a woman is because you're not a woman. And that
correct.
Bothers. Now, I have several transgender friends. They are exactly what they appear to be. They present exactly as they want to present. And if you met them, you would say he or she properly without any effort at all. None, because they go full on. They're literal transgenders. There's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, when you have this Planet Fitness situation where a full-grown man is putting on a little bit of lipstick and dressing out with young girls, this is not acceptable.
So stunning, so brave.
I say we make a law that any guy who has his junk still attached can't dress out in women's locker rooms. That's simple. Pre-ops? No. Post-ops? Yes.
And yeah, it is simple, but also it's absolutely horrifying that such a law should need to exist. That is evidence that sometimes the arc of history does not bend in the correct direction.
Dear Lord, I'm so 95% of electric cars are still on the road. The other 5%.
I like that one.
Yeah, Acorn Stash has got it going on over there on his channel. Y'all should definitely go check him out. He uploads like 3, 4, 5 times a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. He is banging it, bro. He's also a little upset because his analytics seem to have slipped off a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I think that happened to most of us.
Oh, wait. No, this was your thing. You were talking about this. Well, this is Ireland. Same difference, though. Same thing. New Irish government wants to pass a law that could see people jailed for possession of memes, cartoons, or any content that could be deemed hateful by bureaucrats. However, the bill includes no definition of hate. And you're
absolutely no different from Sharia law, just like I said in the roundup.
And the issue that I have with it is if you use Google's definition of it, it basically states that no white straight man can ever be the victim of hate.
And the whole idea of hate crimes is patently ridiculous anyway, because if I punch you in the face because I don't like your complexion, the law treats that as a much, much more serious offense than if I punched you in the face because I felt like punching someone. So you tell me how that benefits the victim.
I have no idea what's going through these people's heads, except maybe a bit of air.
Should I talk us out?
Oh, God, we don't went over, ain't we? My bad. I'm sorry. I usually keep track of that. Here, do your thing.
No, you're fine. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks ever so much for joining us here on The Blast Radius. We sure do appreciate it when you take a little slice of your Sunday evening and spend it with us, even though we're a little bit weird. We hope you have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow and a fine week, and we will see you next Sunday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, same Sasquatch time, same curmudgeon channel. Until then, do not comply. Get off my lawn.
Give me the money. Give me the money.